Welcome to Mark My Words, a show that searches for the fork in the road in life, the place where the turning point in the journey of entrepreneurship and life can be found. Let's meet each other at the crossroads on Mark My Words. This episode is sponsored by GrowX Labs. Quick question. When you're leading a team or growing a business, who helps you think clearly? GrowX Labs offers executive decision support, real-time access to a trusted strategist who helps you navigate tough calls, leadership blind spots, and everything in between. No fluff, no long-term commitment, just fast, honest insight from someone who gets it. If you're a founder or exec and need a sounding board, go to growxlabs.com/mark. That's grwxlabs.com/mark and book a discovery call today. So if you've been listening to Mark My Words for the past several years, you know if there's one thing that I'm really committed to, dedicated to, whatever word of integrity you want to throw in there, you know that this show is all about storytelling. It's about telling the story of the guest's transition or journey into entrepreneurship. And that is something that I have really tried to stay true to through the run of this podcast. Today, I feel like I have a kindred spirit, not only because of the fact that they do a lot of video production in their work, and that obviously kind of gives us a lot to talk about just because of my background, but Graham Kuhn, he is dedicated to storytelling and helping brands to tell their story and to basically do it in an authentic way, which hopefully that is something that you're also used to here on Mark My Words, because if I'm coming across as inauthentic, that's a lot of years that I need to really go back and reflect. But I have taken a look at a lot of Graham's work and content, and I love his attitude and dedication to what he does and how he helps brands to tell their story. And I think he has a lot of really cool things to share here today. He is the owner of Focus Films, which should not be confused with Focus Features, which is completely different. He is of Focus Films. He is out of Georgia, but he is here on Mark My Words today. Graham, welcome to Mark My Words. How you doing?
Good, Mark. Thanks for having me, man. It's funny you mentioned Focus Features because when I see their logo, I'm like, oh my gosh, I use a similar font. I need to not do that.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, there are a couple other shows called Mark My Words, and
hmm
it's amazing just how much content is out there and how we're all kind of like linked together and similar. It's so hard to just come up with something super like something nobody truly has never thought of unless you start spelling words with like different letters and all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. It is really hard. So sometimes people confuse me with like other Mark My Words shows. And I think there is one called the Mark My Words Show, which is not me. I'm just Mark My Words. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but
That's all right, man.
So I am going to just go back in the Wayback Machine because one thing that was really cool to me when I was watching kind of like your, I guess it's on your website, just kind of like the overview of who you are and why you do what you do. Very interesting tidbit about your past, which those of you who listen to this show on a regular basis, you know I like kind of going back to the past, the younger version of ourselves. And I didn't even catch this when preparing. I didn't until you mentioned it and I saw you singing so amazingly in that clip. Um, you went to Lawrence University, studied vocal music performance, music education. I'm guessing that that was something that you were really focused on, probably had, I'm guessing, a pretty big love of music growing up.
Yeah, man. I did some piano lessons when I was like in 3rd grade and my grandma had a piano growing up and I'd plunk around on that. But then in 5th grade, we could pick an instrument and I picked saxophone and I played in the band. And then from there in 8th grade, the high school was auditioning 8th graders for the musical. And I got a part in that. And I fell in love with theater and singing. And yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So you went to school, you studied vocal music performance, music education. Was music just the thing? Was there anything else that interested you? Like, you obviously wound up going into, you stayed in a creative field, but you went a bit technical, even though what you do is certainly very creative, which I admire. Uh, was working with media, was that ever anything that you, that even crossed your mind?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like I'm such a renaissance man. Like I was a singer and in music, but I was a big jock in high school and football and wrestling and baseball. And um I actually my father was a wrestling coach at my high school. And I don't know if I was in 4th, 5th, 6th grade. He said he needed someone to run the video camera for the wrestling match for his high school team. And he asked me if I want to do it. I'm like, yeah, that'd be fun. So at the end of the year, I put the best moves together and made like a highlight video with music and all this. And I'm like, oh, I like this. Like they showed it at the banquet and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. And so I did that for a few years through high school. And then when I went to college, I wrestled in college also. My college wrestling coach, same thing. He found out I made videos. He's like, can you make a highlight video for our team too? And I was like, heck yeah, man. So then if you fast forward 2009, 2010, I'm working at a church doing music. And just like my college wrestling coach, he was like, hey, you did videos before? Can you do videos here? So then, like 2009 to 2020, I was creative director at the church doing videos, cranking out 2, 3 videos a week for 11 years. I got pretty good at it.
That's awesome. So for me, there were like little links here and there. Like I got an opportunity to work a game, like maybe grip or do camera. And there was always like a real passion for like just television media. I was like obsessed growing up in the 80s. I was like obsessed with like TV listings and just weird stuff like that. But I didn't really get an opportunity to do anything too technical until I got into college. And it was something that I always wanted to do, kind of like what I'm doing now with Mark My Words. I think I always wanted to be behind the mic or in front of the camera, but I kind of like always had a mind block and just kept myself from, doing what I wanted to do. So I think it's really like amazing that you had people in your corner who not only gave you some of those other opportunities, but they saw something in you. And it looks like that obviously was something that never left you, even though you had done like a variety of things for a few years there leading up to becoming an entrepreneur. And I'd be interested in knowing why did you get to the point where you decided to make that transition and utilize some of these skills that you have?
Yeah, so I was working at a big church in Atlanta, um, as creative director and assistant music director. So every Sunday I'm playing piano and singing at church. During the week, I'm making videos. I'm the director of the audiovisual ministry, and I love that job. I mean, I'm singing and I'm doing video. Like I never planned to leave that job. I loved it. Uh, but it was like 2019 or so, 2018. People from the church started calling the office, just saying, "Who makes the videos? Will they do one for my business?" So I did one, and then I did another one, and the second one that I sold was 150% of my monthly salary. And so I was like, "Hey," to my wife, like, "Maybe we should look at making this video thing a thing." And so I really got serious about, "Oh, maybe I should make this a business," but I never thought about making it a, um, self-employed situation. Then when I got to it was like 2019, 2020, we got serious about it, and so the plan was I would go part-time at the job in January, probably go part-time until April or May, and then look at where we are financially and everything and see if am I really gonna quit my job? Because at the time I was 44, 45. I never dreamed of being an entrepreneur, and, so I thought, well, it'll be a cool little side hustle. Well, going part-time for that 1 month, January, and putting 20 extra hours a week into my business, I had to quit in February, 30 days later, because my business blew up because I could focus on it so much more. So I just kinda backed into it. I just was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna quit my job with salary and benefits at 45 years old, and my wife's a stay-at-home mom and 3 kids," and it was never the dream, but it just kind of unavoidable. It was either I was gonna have to slow down my side hustle because I'm editing till 2 in the morning, I'm taking every day of vacation for shoots, and I'm gonna have to slow down that extra money, or we're gonna quit the job and go full in. So we had a lot of discussions and we went full in.
That's amazing because I know people like me have been working for a few years now, just consciously. Now, I can't say that I got into podcasting and entrepreneurship with the idea that, you know, 2 weeks after releasing an episode, I was going to be able to quit everything and be, rolling in the dough or anything. But I have been like working pretty hard for quite a while at this, and it's not something that I backed into. It was something that I just wanted to do and decided to do it.
Mhm.
And I think what we have here is a real reflection of, and the way that you got into doing this is a really amazing way of starting a business. It's a very ideal way because you were able to find people who saw your potential and they liked your work, and it sounds like you almost couldn't help but to keep going in that direction. And that can happen. And I think that is a really great way to get into entrepreneurship. And I mean, sometimes you can get into it just by having an idea and going for it. And, you know, I'm certainly growing here as I go along, but it's this is why I do this show, to show everybody all the different ways that you can become an entrepreneur. And they see me just, playing the long game. And, you know, for in some ways, I love kind of like showing that. But in
Mhm.
other ways, I'm like, okay, I would really like to see more traction. So, that's a whole nother topic for another time. But
Yeah.
uh I love your story because I feel like, never let go or give up on some of the skills or those things that you love doing, because you never know when it could pay off down the road.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was very lucky in that I moved to Atlanta for a singing gig, so I loved a cappella music, and there was a professional a cappella group in, Atlanta that was looking for a singer, so I auditioned and they let me in. So I moved here for a singing job, so that was super cool. From that, I started working at the church, and I'm doing music again, so not only am I living my passion, but what I love about music or I love about singing is how it moves people, like, emotionally. Like, after church, so many people will come up, be like, "Oh my gosh, that song that you sang really moved me," or "It reminded me of my dad," or "It reminded me of something," or "I started crying," or it was so, and I love affecting people like that. And then when I started doing videos at the church, I realized it has the same effect if you do it right, and it's maybe it's an emotional plea for something, and it's emotional music and beautiful visuals, and the story is so compelling, and people are in tears, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can have the same emotional impact on people. Like, that's what I really love about everything I've ever done in my life, is how it affects other people and the emotional impact it has. And I think that's also why it was never like an intentional thing to make a business or be an entrepreneur. It's just like, I was happy doing what I'm doing. I'm affecting people. I'm helping people. I'm telling stories, whether it's me singing and telling a story and emoting, or it's me creating a video that's telling a story to emote and get reactions, emotional reactions from people. Um, and so these are not skills that I really try to develop. It just over time they just developed, especially the authentic storytelling. It was one guy came in to do a video about a ministry, and it was so bad because he had these scripted bullet points. I just started asking him questions, and he's totally changed and became himself and just was telling stories, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is the magic right here, letting people speak from the heart and tell stories," and then that's where that all came from.
So is that the point that it started to click that, you know what, I need to focus on like really telling like a good story? Was there any other moment that there was like a eureka moment? Because it's one thing to just be technical and to execute something. Like, I could do a podcast on entrepreneurship and I could probably package it way differently than I do. We could probably knock this out without even being here, and I could like just have a totally different format. But I kind of enjoy the authenticity of telling the story and having the dialogue, and, you know, having you tell the story or the guests. And I've become more comfortable even incorporating my own story, but which is important because I am the host, I guess. But uh, but when did it like occur to you that that's the key to Graham's success? That's what you're about. That's your niche.
Yeah, I think it was definitely that moment. Up until that point, um, like, I did a lot of videos with our pastor, and our pastor was really good at just looking at the camera and riffing and being off the cuff, and So, and I didn't know any better. I just thought everybody did that. He was so good at it. But then you would get other volunteers to come in and make videos, and they were like robots and they didn't know what to do. And I'm like, whoa, this is really bad. But then it was that day when that guy came in, and I just, for some reason, I was off to the side of the camera, and I just, when he got done, I left the camera running, and I just looked at him and I started asking him questions about, how long have you been in this ministry? I know, I see you around all the time. Why have you been in it so long? And he starts talking about his family and his faith life and how enriching it is and how much he loves to give back to the community and all the outreach they do and what a difference it makes in the community. He's just telling me his stories, looking away from the camera. And it was so real, like we were peeking into a private conversation, which we were. But psychologically, that flips a switch in somebody's brain where they're like, "Oh, this guy is being real because he doesn't know we're here. He's not looking in the camera." And that was the moment I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is a thing." And then I think I went if I go back to the YouTube channel of that church, you can kind of see where the style of videos shifted then to more interview style and storytelling, and like I would interview every priest and like their history and any stories they have, and like really tear-jerking stuff, and like I'm just like, this is it, man. So then I started applying that to businesses where I'm like, we're not just going to talk about how you build a house or how you put a roof on or chiropractic. We're going to talk about the why behind you do this, why you do it, the story and what's going to resonate with people. So that was definitely the moment when I just decided to start asking that dude some questions, and I paid attention to how different it was.
So when you have somebody, and I've had a few episodes of this show where, and I'm like super duper, or at least I perceive myself as being super duper open minded. I'm trying to get all kinds of people and entrepreneurial backgrounds and just backgrounds in general. And one thing that I've learned is that when I bring certain people on from certain backgrounds and they are a little more reserved, that definitely sets me up for a bit more of a challenge as far as like having this type of dialogue. Like when I have a Graham Kuhn on my show, it's like, oh, that takes a huge load off that they have like a good, like engaging personality. I don't like if I screw up this interview, it's like my fault because I'm
Right.
not like my frame of mind's not right, or I'm distracted from spam calls that keep coming through, or whatever it is. How do you like you kind of already I feel highlighted like the change in like approach that certainly helped, but if and when you do have somebody who is a little more reserved, uh, does that ever set off any alarms? Do you have any strategy for how to like, remain like authentic to like who you are to the best of your ability to get the most out of them, to get their personality out? Uh, what's your approach with somebody like that?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is forming that relationship to get them to trust me. And I think one thing that I do differently in my business than some of my colleagues do in their video business is, if we're going to film like a brand story video where I'm interviewing them about what are the services you provide and that kind of stuff, but then we're going to dig into, why do you do this? No, really, why do you do this? It's more than it's fulfilling for you and you want freedom for your family. Like, there's a driving why as to why you decided to go into chiropractic, why you decided to go this, why you're a business coach. But I can't just do that cold on camera. I can't just flip on the cameras and be like, all right, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. So I have a really deep meeting with them before we ever turn the cameras on. Like a week before we're going to shoot, I do what I call a deep dive, and I just have a pen and a paper, and it's me and my client at a coffee shop or in their office, and I'm just asking them all the questions that I'm going to ask them on camera, and we kind of hash out the story. I dig deeper and I dig deeper, and we get the kind of the framework of what their story is so I understand better. What that extra step does, it takes about an hour. They already know what we're gonna talk about when they get on camera a week later. So in their mind, they're a little more at ease because 'cause they're like, "Oh, I know he's gonna ask me about why." They're gonna kinda remember they talked about whatever that why was. I know their story, so um, I can guide the interview much more concisely. And then it's just literally within 5 to 10 minutes of us having the conversation on camera, magically the cameras disappear in their mind, and it's just me and that person. I'm on a chair, they're in a chair, and we're literally having a conversation. It's not a Q&A. It's not me saying, "Okay, tell me, when was your company founded?" And then they talk, and then I ask question number 2, and then I ask question. It's not like that. It's literally a conversation, and I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm really good at it. Like, I actively listen to what they're saying, and if they say something that they didn't even mention in the deep dive and it's interesting, then we'll go down that path and follow that little tributary of the story. And sometimes you get some really cool golden nuggets from something you didn't even expect. But it's really the preparation of putting them at ease and them understanding what we're going to talk about without giving them the exact questions, because then they're going to try to formulate an answer in their head and like try to say the perfect thing. And I just try to make them understand and trust that you can mess up. This is not live. We can do 10 takes. I'm just going to ask you questions and have a conversation. And it's been really well. It's done really well for me. I mean, even quiet people who are introverted tend to come out of their shell. They end up feeling like it's just me and them. They forget about the crew, they forget about the cameras, and they just open up. It's like, I don't know if it's energy, I don't know if it's what it is, but it's a really cool thing to see.
That's amazing. And I know, first of all, the pre-meeting just to get an idea of the other person's personality. That's something that I was doing early on with this show. And then
Mhm.
I got on Podmatch, which is how we connected. And they give you an opportunity to like see videos and get like an idea of somebody's personality before even like, you know, without doing the pre-meeting. And for me, I have to admit, so my wife has kind of asked me, she's like, you should go back to like doing a pre-meeting a little bit because I've had quite a few just over the past like year. We're still in 2025 recording this episode, and 2025 has been nuts as far as like having to reschedule people not just showing up after scheduling something. And it's been really crazy. And my wife had once or twice mentioned you should go back to doing that. And me being me, I'm like, I don't have to do that. But I just had somebody yesterday ghost me, and I'm like,
Mm.
maybe there's something to doing that pre-meeting, not only to build up the trust and the rapport, but also to make it a little more real that, this is a real person who, is here and they're ready to go. And this is serious business. This isn't just something to blow off. But I do agree also with just, you know, I'll I don't want to call out any episode, but I just listening to you talk, I reflected on a couple that went well, but they were pretty uptight until about the end. And I'm like, oh, they're just
Mhm.
starting to like loosen up more.
Warm up.
So
Yeah.
a little that pre-work can be very valuable and very important, and I should take my own advice as I'm talking here.
Well, I will say, well, I mean, it's a little different for me because you have kind of a as far as where somebody's warming up toward the end of an episode, you've got limited time. Where for me, I've had that where we're 40 minutes into an interview and then that business owner starts to really come alive. So I try to re-ask questions in a different way and they say it a little more. So we'll end up going an hour and a half or 2 hours instead of it doesn't happen often, but I mean, I do when I see them start to open up, I'm like, "Oh, let's keep going." But I mean, I don't think you have that, flexibility to just keep talking and talking for 2 hours, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could find something to talk about. There are a lot of episodes that, when they're really good, like conversational, um, there are episodes I feel like I could just keep going for a couple of
Yeah.
hours. But not only do I not have the time in my life, unfortunately, but I don't want to monopolize everybody else's time. So I think it's a matter of like what format you want to do and what your approach is. Because
Yeah.
again, we could, if I wanted to, and I'm kicking around actually an idea where I do something that's a little more compact and not like long form like this, but we could easily just have knocked this out already. We're what, 30 minutes into this?
Yeah.
We could definitely have knocked it out, but that's not the vibe that I want. So it all depends on the vibe that you want with your projects.
Yeah, I don't think any of my interviews with clients are less than 30 minutes. They're almost all 45 minutes to an hour because I just wanna keep talking and learning their story and digging deep, and then they say something, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, let's talk about that, let's talk about that," you know, and it's interesting to me. I like people. I like stories. I like having conversations with them. Like, I was just telling somebody the other day where they're like, "What is your superpower?" And I'm like, "Well, connecting with people." I love to connect with people in my local community. I love to connect with other business owners, and just have conversations and learn about them. Because if there's one thing I've learned, we've all got a story that nobody knows. We all see this facade that everybody puts on. But when you sit down and have a coffee with a business owner, start digging deep with them, you learn all the warts and all the struggles. And everybody has like imposter syndrome and, you know, everybody's got a story. So that's what I just really like connecting with people. So it's hard for me to cut off an interview.
No, I totally get it. I'm actually curious to know. So I know you're all about storytelling and you're really committed to helping businesses, but who exactly are you working with, and what exactly is the criteria for working with Graham? Just kind of give me an overview of how you took this idea you backed into and started growing it out to the amazing thing that it is now.
Yeah, so when I started, I had gotten in a Facebook group that was kind of like a mastermind, build your video business kind of thing. And it was all about relationships and storytelling. It wasn't about cameras and all that. And through that, I learned this technique of telling brand story videos, you know, how the neuroscience works. And you start with who and then why and what how. It's emotion and logic and all this. And it's really interesting to me. And then in that group, they were like, these are kind of the industries you want to target. You want to target healthcare, lawyers, construction, finance, higher education. Um, and so I would target those. And I've done a lot of work with like chiropractors, done a lot of work with roofers and home builders. Um, and recently in the last year, I've really leaned into healthcare wise, really trying to work with direct care physicians, which is they've left the hospital, they've left the insurance model, and they've opened their own practice. and you pay them a monthly fee. There's no insurance involved. They can prescribe what they actually feel you should have. Insurance doesn't handcuff them. It might be lifestyle, it might be diet, it might be exercise, or it's supplements, or it is pharmaceuticals. But those are the people I really gravitate toward because they are really trying to help people and do it the right way. And as an entrepreneur, health insurance is kind of a challenge. And so to see people out there who are taking a chance, leaving their cushy salary and opening a practice when they never dreamed of being a business owner, and they're helping people because one direct care physician told me, I took the Hippocratic oath that said do no harm. And I feel like what I'm doing, being handcuffed by insurance, is I'm doing harm to my patients because I feel like they need this, but insurance says they can't have that. They got to have this. And so they all take this leap of faith. And I just think it's really awesome. Their stories are awesome. We're doing brand story videos, testimonial videos, process videos that shows what it looks like to work with them. Like, I'm really leaning into the direct care physicians right now. But then I would say my second favorite thing is construction, home builders. I've done a lot of work with custom luxury home builders who are building $5, $6, $7 million homes. I've gone really deep with them over the last 6 years. I know the ins and outs of that industry. And growing up in Wisconsin, being a blue collar kid, those are my people, man. Those construction guys are like my people. But man, I can get them to cry on camera, and that is the best thing in the world. You get these big, tough guys crying on camera. Oh, about how proud they are with this business and helping people. And they grew up working in the wood shop with their grandpa, and they're just bawling. I'm like, yeah, that is the best, dude.
That's amazing. And as I'm kind of like going through here, listening to who you're working with and what you're doing, I can't help but to think about and relate some of this, you know, let's be real. You have a real like professional business. I'm relating some of this to my projects doing as I've been doing in 2025, I've been on TikTok doing a lot of TikTok shop videos and
Mm.
things like that, trying to make a few extra bucks. But my approach with it, especially in the beginning, I had to learn that I don't need to be like billionaire, Spielberg, minded, you know, photog or, producer, director while I'm doing what I'm doing. I can still be very effective just, being simple and keeping it simple. Do you ever have battles with yourself as far as like you have this great background, you have all these skills, but are you like tempted to be a little too artsy, or have you learned to just tell the story in a way that is suitable? What's your mindset and approach as we have Oreo getting into our
I
shot here?
was like, what is that? Uh,
That's one of my 6-month-old kittens, Oreo.
oh my God. No, I really don't struggle with that. Because I preach to my clients all the time that for video to be effective, they need to keep doing it. And nobody can afford to pay me every single day to make videos for them. I'm sorry. And so I try to teach them and help them to shoot videos on their own. I'm like, you've got one of the best cameras right here in your pocket. And so I teach them how to use that. I teach them how to talk to them about lighting and microphones. But I'm like, honestly, none of that matters. What you're talking about, the content is what matters. Yeah, just talked about this morning. I'm like, yeah, this is cool because I know how to do this. I would never expect my clients to do this. I just do this because I know how to do it. I don't think it makes me better than anybody. I think it looks really cool, but I've made plenty of videos where I grab my phone and I just talk in it because also what I tell my clients is people don't want to see this all the time. This can come across as inauthentic or overproduced or just out of their league, which is never what I want to do. I want people to know authenticity sells, being real. Just even if you're not, you see these funny like TikToks where they obviously have their phone. It's not framed right. Their head is like down here. It's still awesome. You're still getting the story. So yeah, no, I don't. I'm not tempted to like ever make things too artsy. In fact, one of my editors just sent me a draft of an edit he made. And I was like, dude, you are so passionate about editing. I would not make it this good. Cause like it's got beautiful transitions and all this where I'm like, clip, 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 done, you know? So yeah, no, I don't get tempted because I truly believe in authenticity and it doesn't matter what kind of gear you have. I preach that all the time when businesses say, we're not doing video because we don't have the equipment. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you're shooting on a Sony or an iPhone or a Canon, doesn't matter. It's the content, it's the story. And if you notice ads these days, they're having influencers with their phones. It's like ads are all like TikTok things now. That's what resonates with people, you know? So I have no ego when it comes to this stuff at all.
And I think you mentioned that in your introductory video, I believe, if I'm remembering right, because you talk a little bit about the mindset that everybody has today. It's not necessarily about having a huge production and being, you know, really creative. People want to see, like, what's behind the mask, quote unquote. They want to see the real person, the authentic person, the authenticity in general. And for me
Yep.
personally, I love that because as much as I would love to be something different, and I do think that being a host, even though I am me, I still have to like play a role, but it's me that you're getting. Now, if I was just truly 1,000% authentic, then that would be different. I don't know if anybody would like this show, but you gotta bring a little bit of showmanship if you want to
For
do
sure.
something like this.
Well,
But
let me be
you're
totally
off.
transparent because I feel like this is important for people to know because they see all this and they go, oh my gosh, that's so professional. That's so expensive. He's a professional. I just want to tell you exactly what I have here so people understand. I just know where to put the lights. Okay. It's the most expensive thing I have. Yes, I have a DSLR camera. It's a Panasonic GH52. It's like $1,200. That's pricey. This light right here is like a $60 like light from Amazon. These guys back here, $10 lights from Walmart. And then I have this light that's lighting up the back of my head and stuff is a $60 light off of TikTok. So this is not like super high end stuff. It's just put together the right way. So I just want to say that this is not like some $1 million studio. This is like, besides the camera, it's like $150.
And I always tell people, and to this day, I've been doing this show for 6 years. I'm still using the same mic, the same ring light, the same computer. I'm using like the same equipment, maybe except for what I'm recording on, although I still use Zoom for a lot of episodes too. I'm using the same equipment. You don't need much to do not only something like this, but just your projects in general. Which kind of leads me to something I do want to ask before we run out of time. Although technically we could take all the time in the world, but I value your time, so we're gonna run out
Well,
of time.
I do want to say I think that's a lot people who are afraid to do that stuff or it's a lot of insecurity and it's excuses like, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. People are not watching your show because of your production value. Now, if your audio is terrible and they couldn't hear it, of course, but they're watching your show for the stories. Literally, that's it. So they don't care if you're using a webcam or so I think that's important for people to know. Don't make excuses that you don't have equipment because that's not what matters.
Well, Good. And that leads me into the next thing I want to ask because it's almost, by the time this is published, it's 2026. And it's a completely different era than like even 10 years ago, certainly 20, 30 years ago. If you're wanting to start a business like yours, uh, now, today, if somebody out there wants to do a business, a production business, help people who don't have the skills that you and I might have, or, the background, or maybe even the time, but they want to tell their story, they want to produce something. Uh, how does that person go about starting that business and, having success and getting clients? And when we're in an era where if I wanted to just do an ad about Mark My Words, I could literally just, while we're talking, I could pick up my phone and be like, just shoot it and be like, yeah, this is me working, on this episode with Graham. And boom, I could put that out in a half hour. So how can somebody like, validate themselves as a production business today?
Yeah. Um, the first thing, I don't know if you can see this right here, but I've got this poster says mindset. Like that was a big thing for me was just first of all believing I could do this. Like I said, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. So for me to convince myself I'm good enough, I'm worthy to do that. I had such great video skills and stuff. Like I was good, but there's still that little voice in your head that's like, you're not a business owner. You're the piano player at church, dude. So that's the first step, man. You got to believe that you have the skills. You are worthy. You are good enough. Like everybody that's a business owner hasn't always been a business owner. So that's the first thing. Second thing is I think you'll find, like I always talk about relationships, and it sounds cliche, but the more people you meet, and especially the people in the industry, like when people reach out to me, I'm like, man, let's go have a coffee. Come and tag along on a video shoot. I'll tell you everything about my business. I'll tell you how I get clients. I'll tell you everything because I believe a rising tide lifts all boats, and you're not going to affect my business if I help you out. So if somebody's into video and they're kind of thinking about it, reach out to local video companies because more often than not, here's a shocker, they're going to be willing to help. When I first started my business, I thought I was competing with every other video company and I was jealous of them and they don't want to talk to me. And then I learned from a coach that they could be your colleagues and your friends, and we're all just humans trying to survive. Now I'm friends with like 7 or 8 video owners in my area. And yeah, we compete, but I mean, we're dads and husbands and humans trying to survive, and like, it's not competition. So reach out to people in your area who are doing what you want to do, see what you can learn from them. Get on the internet, man. Read StoryBrand about telling stories. Um, Learn about neuroscience and the brain, and get on YouTube and learn about shooting and how to tell a story and how to ask people questions to get them to tell a story. And I mean, the internet, dude, I've learned everything that I do in my business from YouTube University. Besides the brand story video that I learned from that mastermind, everything about shooting and framing and YouTube University. So it's about mindset and it's about relationships. My biggest clients have come from referrals from people who know me, not marketing, not doing ads, not sending emails. Literally, a guy at my church came up to me one day. He goes, "Hey man, I need video for my business." Okay, that's where I got the luxury custom home builder from. I've worked with them for 7 years. Um, just because I knew this guy and he saw my work. It wasn't me doing a Facebook ad or anything. So meet people, relationships, and learn about the craft. And you've got to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can do this because you can.
And you're basically alluding to imposter syndrome, which is a topic I'm huge on, and I try to preach that, for lack of a better word, to as
Yeah.
many people as I can, because I've been through a lot. I have every reason to not be doing this whatsoever, and, you know, my journey to becoming a podcaster was unlikely one from my perspective, and I just basically met the right people who talked, just kind of gave me the encouragement that I needed, and got me to see that I could get past like the way I sounded or the way I thought I sounded or looked or whatever. And I could get past that and do it. And now I've done almost 200 episodes of
Mm-hmm.
this podcast and have had some amazing people contribute. And I just personally, part of the reason I do this is to try to give back to anybody who is doubting themselves and think that they
Yeah.
can't do it, because they can do it. And I am just trying to show, not only with my words, but by example, that they can do it too.
Yeah, I actually had a terrible imposter syndrome because I never dreamed of this, and I worked in a church, and I was a musician. Like, I was thinking people at the church can be like, "Isn't that the music guy from church? Not what he thinks he's a business owner. What is this?" But I actually interviewed Dr. Valerie Young, who is like the world expert on imposter syndrome. She does TED Talks and has a whole like impostersyndrome.org or something, and teaches people and all that, and actually interviewed her one time and learned a lot of great things from her about imposter syndrome, and finding out that like 80 some percent of people have it.
I believe that.
The most successful CEOs wake up in the morning going, they're going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it's wild, man, but once you
Yeah,
realize everybody has those doubts, it really helps you overcome it.
I believe that. I believe that. Um, Yeah, I that's a topic I could easily go on and on for. Um, One thing before I ask you the golden question about how people can find you, you were talking earlier and I mind blocked, and hopefully nobody will ever notice, and I'm revealing myself, I guess. But you said something really important, and I remembered again over the course of the past few minutes. Um, One real important skill that you need, not only for the work you're doing, but for the work I'm doing, is listening. Because you can come on camera or, hit the record button and talk, and you can get through it. But when you listen and you bounce off of the other person, which I have all of like your information, all that stuff up, referring to it a little bit, but I'm mainly with every episode, I'm trying to just bounce off the other person, unless it is kind of a situation I referred to earlier where it's just
Right.
a very rigid conversation and I'm like, oh no, I gotta, where's all the Podmatch notes? Like, where's their website? And those are the ones where I panic a little bit, but
Yeah.
listening takes everything to another level. And you're shaking your
Yeah.
head and concurring. We can
No,
leave it at
I
that.
didn't
That's okay.
I didn't know if you were done, but
Oh,
yeah,
I'm done.
a- and I because I don't know, it's like in my mind when I'm interviewing a client and I'm listening to them, I am thinking, I want this to be the best for them. I want this to be the best for them. I want this to be the best. I want this to work for them. I have to listen to them so that I can get them to speak authentically. I need to listen to them so I can guide the conversation and keep them comfortable. And so I'm consciously thinking, listen, pay attention, don't have an agenda. When you go to networking meetings, it's interesting. If I meet somebody at a networking meeting, the more questions I ask them about their business, the more they're going to like me. They're going to go home and tell their wife, I met this guy, Graham. He was like the coolest guy. And be like, I didn't say anything about me. All I did was be interested in them. It's a way of serving people and just giving a crap about them. If I come in with an agenda, like I just want to tell you what I do and I want to sell you on what I do, that's just not authentic. It's salesy. It's gross. It's not relationship building. And so I'm just really big on serving. And I think a way to serve people is listening, caring, actually caring about what they say, not just waiting for them to stop talking to say your part. But it's definitely something I consciously do. I'm like, listen, because when I listen, I'm going to guide the conversation. And if they're on camera, we're going to get the best result for them. So I'm like challenging myself to do the best job I can to serve my client.
And you and I are very similar in that regard because I do the same thing as I'm sitting doing any episode. I'm like, listen, like just, you almost have to remind yourself, even if you think you're the best listener ever, and I think I'm pretty good, not to be, egotistic or tooting my own horn, but I am known as a good listener, which is
Yeah.
part of the reason I think I do this to begin with and have lasted this long, hopefully, other than the fact that, like, I don't have anybody stopping me, I guess, but, I guess only I can stop me
That's
at
right.
this point. But, I don't have anybody breathing down my neck. But, yeah, I just wanted to circle back to that because
Yeah, I think it was good.
listening is really, really important when you're doing anything like creative, especially, video project, an interview, a podcast, and you can add to that if you want. I'm also going to give you the opportunity to tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, how they can work with you, and yeah, I'll let you I'll let you go.
Yeah. Okay, man. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to add to that. I think you're right on the money. Listening is so important. And actually, I do a lot of workshops and teaching things about video, and I teach a lot about the brain. I teach about imposter syndrome. I teach about authenticity, like all that, but I've never talked about listening. That's interesting. I might have to develop something about the importance of listening. So thanks
I
for
like
that.
it.
Huh.
I like
So,
that.
so to get a hold of me, because I've got a team of people. It's no longer just me. I've got a crew of people that work with me, and it's just been amazing because my shooters are way better at shooting than I am. My editors, like I said, they're way better at editing than I am. I'm the relationship. Let's get the story. I run the interview. They do all the technical stuff, and it's amazing. But so I just don't want this to seem like you're reaching out to me only. Like, I've got a whole team of awesome people. The website is focusfilms.com. You can see my video on there, see portfolio, reach out to me there. Or really, I'm really active on LinkedIn. I'm posting on LinkedIn all the time. I'm interacting on LinkedIn all the time. So it's Graham Kuhn, last name Kuhn. I connect with a lot of people on there. And dude, I just love to do what we're doing right now. I love having like virtual coffees with people across the country. I do virtual brand stories or virtual testimonials where I listen and ask the question just like I do like we're on location. And I just love meeting people. So even if you're somebody who's in Seattle, Washington, listening to this, you're like, oh, Graham's in Atlanta, dude, I'd still love to have a Zoom and do a virtual coffee and get to know each other. And I am happy to give all away my knowledge for free. Ask me about video. Ask how to shoot video. Ask how to tell a story. Like, I am happy to help anybody do this.
I love it. And I love your attitude and I love everything you're doing. And I thank you for taking time out of your busy day to hang out and talk about what you do. This was fantastic.
Thanks, Mark. This was really awesome, man. You're a great listener, man. This was a really great conversation, man. I felt like you cared, and that's what makes all the difference. You did a great job. This was nice.
I I appreciate that. I would argue that sometimes I care maybe a little too much, but
I feel that. I feel
that's
that.
that's another story for another time. Sometimes our greatest strengths can also be like a weakness, and I'm totally like putting myself 6 feet under after you complimented me. So I should just say, thanks, Graham. That's
Yeah,
amazing. I
man. Yeah.
appreciate you. And leave
Yeah.
it at that. So, Graham, thank you so much. And like I tend to do 9 times out of 10, I don't even mention my name. I'm Mark Schmidt, and you just listened to Mark My Words. Again, thank you to Graham Kuhn for spending some time with me here today. And that is all she wrote for this episode. So I thank you again, Graham, and I will see you soon with another episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to go on a journey with me into entrepreneurship and life on Mark My Words. If you would like to learn more about me and the show, you can find me on LinkedIn at Mark Schmidt or connect with me on Instagram at Nimrod79. Video episodes of Mark My Words, as well as other content, can also be found on the Mark My Words YouTube page. Entrepreneurship can be quite the roller coaster ride. It can be a bit isolating and intimidating, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's meet here next time at the crossroads on another episode of Mark My Words.